This is Centered, where faith meets everyday life. Our hope is to invite you into a better story, a story where you're made new through Jesus, living with God-given purpose, and experiencing peace, joy, and freedom. Together, we'll explore what it means to keep Jesus at the center of where we live, work, and play, bringing beauty, meaning, and renewal to every part of our lives. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, welcome to the Centered Podcast. We are so excited to be here this week, and we have something very special planned for you. We have a few guests in the house. So I'm Megan, and today with me I have Michelle, and
Hey,
I
guys.
have Tara.
Hello.
Welcome, ladies.
This is so awesome to be here.
So good to have
so fun
you.
that
Yeah.
we get to just be ladies on here. I think, is this the first time?
I think this
ever?
is, yeah.
I think
the
so.
first-
Cool.
Yeah, a little ladies takeover. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it. So good. Yeah, so I'm just excited to have you guys here. I think you two are both really good friends of mine, but just your voice is so meaningful in my life. And so I'm excited to share you with our listeners and just have some good conversation. So, okay, so it is the day after Easter, though, which thank you for being here because it's kind of a big deal. And I'm sorry for all the gentlemen out there, but let's be honest, Easter is kind of the ladies take the brunt of all the work. At least in my house. And so, yeah, how are you ladies doing? Do you guys have any fun, like, Easter traditions that you do in your house? Things that you do every year with your family?
Well, my boys are grown. I mean, Scout, our youngest, he's a senior. And so I still give Easter baskets, and I think it's really just for me. I mean, because they really don't care about the nerds that they got in the egg.
But they do, don't you think?
I mean, I think if I didn't have it, they would be like, what? All these years?
Yeah.
But I'd probably get more joy out of it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What about you, Tara? Do you guys do stuff? You're always busy on Easter.
We
Yeah,
are
you
always
guys.
busy. It's usually a really long day.
Yeah.
But getting to just spend it with friends afterwards,
Mhm.
it was really an awesome wrap up to the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, good. That's
Mhm.
awesome. And hopefully some rest for your house,
Yeah.
too.
What about you,
Yeah.
Megs?
Yeah.
You got four littles. They're
Yeah.
not really all littles.
Yeah, Easter's
But-
so fun. I really enjoy it. And this year, I felt like with the Good Friday experience, my kids really got into the Easter story this year in any
Mhm.
way. And that
Mhm.
was really special. Something I can tell my boys are getting older because they're like asking more questions. And
Mhm.
so that was really, really cool and unique to get to do that this year. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, they wake up and they start eating sugar at like 6 a.m. and they don't stop until 6 p.m., and yeah, we
When they
had
have the sugar crash.
exactly. Yeah. Everyone's melting down and you're like, just lay your head down, close your eyes. You need sleep, go to bed.
So do they wake up like the Easter hangover? kind of
Oh,
like?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. Going to school this morning
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. It was a tough morning out the door. But you know what? So all the moms out there, we're here for you. We're praying for you.
Mhm.
We feel
That's
it.
funny.
But yeah, it was a special Sunday. And the sermon was so awesome. Yeah, I just loved how David kind of took on a different angle not a different angle, I guess, but just talking about specifically the women.
Mm.
And when he said the phrase, like that they were the last at the cross and the first at the
Mhm.
tomb, I mean, that just hit me like, that's powerful.
Mhm.
There's something to that for sure.
Mhm.
And so, I don't know, let's dive in. I kind of want to chat about it.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the service and I was really kind of like putting myself in the story.
Mhm.
Like as he was talking about the different women and, some of them funded the ministry and some of them were related to Jesus. And what I was asking myself is like, what role would I have played? What would I be doing that day? Like
Yeah.
I've been following Jesus. He's done something significant in my life. I believe he's the Messiah. But I also just watched him be crucified.
Mm.
And what
Hmm.
was that like in between day like?
Mhm.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? What would you think about that?
I think that they were grieving. I
Yeah.
mean, each in their own way.
Mhm.
I think that they were grieving something that they had thought was not going to happen happened.
Yeah.
And they were left to think about that, to try to process that to the best they could.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so
Hmm.
true.
Mhm.
And that, like, grieving, everyone grieves. Grief is so sneaky.
Yeah.
And everyone grieves differently. And I think that is the beautiful thing about knowing a little bit about grief. Just like there's no right way to grieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think that brings so much freedom. It does to me, just knowing that like my grief might look different than yours.
Yeah.
You know, and it's okay. That's Jesus, like, yeah, there's space for it all.
Yeah.
And that's where you could take that deep breath and be like, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And even just like, I think the timeline of grief, you know, I think we maybe hear this, but at least for me, until you're experiencing it, so much of me wants things to be linear.
Yeah.
And so it's so like, okay, I'm grieving and I'm going to work through it and then I'm going to move on from it. And one thing that I've personally been learning a lot over the last couple of years is grief is a spiral and it goes up and it goes down and all around. And I love what you said. Like, we all grieve differently. And I think even timing wise, because this was pretty fresh for them, right?
Yeah.
Like they're walking to the tomb. And I mean, I imagine their minds are in all different places.
Yeah.
Like, if you could put yourself in their position, what do you think you'd be thinking about on the walk to the tomb, if anything?
I've got lots of thoughts, but I would love to hear yours, Tara.
I think just knowing how I am personally,
Yeah.
I would probably be very quiet.
Yeah.
I would be very internal. I would be trying to process things. I would be thinking about all of the things walking with Jesus that he had said.
Yeah.
And trying to go over in my mind, what does this mean now?
Yeah. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, okay, I was thinking about that as well. I'm an internal processor. Well, I guess my husband would probably say I'm external. I'm a little bit of both. I'm a little internal, a little external. But I think I'd struggle with doubt in the fresh moments after, because I think I would feel like, did I really hear him say that? Or maybe not even that, but like, have I been tricked? You know?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
was I duped? I don't know. Maybe that speaks to my own personal struggle. But yeah, how about you? What do you think you'd be thinking?
I would think how I function and just knowing the patterns in my own grief. I would say I am, in general, just like moment to moment kind of person. So I don't look too far into the future.
Yeah.
And so, or even into the past, but I'm just like, if I have lived life, I think of like Mary Magdalene specifically, but I lived life with Jesus for those 3 years and saw him do what he did, experience what he's done in my own life. And I'll just speak personally right now with that, is like, I know that he is the Lord, is my Lord, Jesus. And I know what he's done in my own life. And I've seen him in my own life and other people. And so I think I would be, it's like fight or flight for me. And it would be, I fight and I'm more like that justice in me. Because it's so painful. I can imagine the torture that Jesus went through, and we, seeing it all.
Yeah.
Like seeing it all. I mean, it's beyond what even the Passion of the Christ, showed in that movie. And so I think I would be emotional, but it would come out just like, I'm not leaving his feet, because you guys I'm going to make sure you treat him. He is my Lord, and I give him my everything, and I will watch you care for him, for his body, and follow him to the tomb. And that fight of just like, okay, who's going to get, no one's going to get those clothes. You aren't going to do dice just to see, I say that, but back then, women didn't have that.
No.
They had to be more quiet.
No.
They didn't have, and I was just like, but he, like, thinking of Jesus, I'm like, he restored their dignity.
Right. Yeah.
He actually gave them a voice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like, he was like maybe their only hope, because then they're going to return back to what they knew.
Because they lost a friend and they lost their Lord, but they lost like the only person who really saw them.
Yeah.
Probably.
And knew them.
Yeah. And so how desperate would that have felt to be like, now what?
Yeah.
Just back to life as normal. Now we're just back to our own, class and what we're allowed to do. And
I'm just thinking how, like, my response would have been silence, because for me, silence was safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how
Mhm.
Jesus was their
Their
safety.
safety.
Oh, yeah.
He was their protection.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He was their everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's so good.
And talking about safety, like in our own lives now, just what does
Mhm.
that look like? You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
Jesus being our safety. Like, I know for
Mhm.
me, I think, you know, where I use the analogy of, you know, when my kids were little and they would be very highly emotional. So I would just grab them
Yeah.
and just like speak over them. I love you, calm
Mhm.
your body, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and in that fight, just like let go of me. That's
Mm.
that's where the fight in me, but the final surrender
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
of just like being in Jesus's safety.
Yeah.
And so I would say like one of my things that I'm really working through is just like, I don't have to fight everything,
Mm.
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And so that's where like my first
Mhm.
initial to your
Yeah.
answer was
Mhm.
like a fight.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
fight him.
Yeah.
And anyone else who knows,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
No. Yeah. That's. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
to Tara's point, like we all grieve differently, and
Mhm.
I think it is
Mhm.
an interesting practice to put ourselves like,
Mm.
okay, raw emotion,
Yeah.
raw moment, the most
Mhm.
devastating thing you can imagine just happened.
Mhm.
You just witnessed something so traumatic. What do? You know,
Yeah.
and where are you
Mhm.
at in that moment? Because that is where our true humanity comes out
Yeah.
in those
Mhm.
moments. And yeah, I just think it's interesting to think about that and to think about how Jesus knew that about them.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Jesus knew, like, okay, Michelle's gonna come swinging. I know that, you know, and like, oh, Tara is gonna be quiet, and everyone's gonna think she's just being quiet, but she's got a whole lot going on up there, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
Yep.
And Megan's gonna be doubting, and like Jesus he knew that, and he
Mhm.
knew what each of his disciples and followers was gonna be going through
Yeah.
in his grief,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
Do you think that was like when you were saying that, do
Yeah.
you feel like that was just like, but this was never the plan? Like
Mm.
this was not how it was supposed to end. You
You mean,
know?
like for the disciples?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
where
yeah.
the women were just like because they didn't know. Like
Right.
Jesus was very cryptic. They didn't
Yeah.
know how it was going to end, or
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
thought that was the end. Like it was over.
Mhm.
Like now what?
I think that's why they went and got the spices and
Yeah.
did all of that. Like, that was probably a very grounding,
Hmm.
practical thing that they could do to
Yeah.
try to help.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know?
It feels so like feminine and
Mhm.
maternal to
Mm.
me.
Yeah.
Who do you
To
think
be
led that charge?
the fighter? No, I don't know. I mean,
Well, like,
his mom,
yeah,
probably.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when I think about that, you're like, I don't know. You're dealing with all of this, but what? I don't know. I'll speak broadly, but I
Mhm.
think broadly as women, we tend to be like, okay, I'm going to make the meal, and I'm going to make sure everybody
Mhm.
has what they need, and I'm going to prepare the spices, and we need the
Right.
embalming oil, and we need
Mhm.
and that feels very to me like relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of like I don't know what
Yeah.
to do, and I am full of grief, but I know how to almost like a hospitality aspect. Like I know how to
Mhm.
prepare a funeral. I know what
Yeah.
to do for this, and
Mhm.
so
And I'm sure
I'm
the
gonna do
women
that.
were comforting one another.
Mhm.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
for
Yeah.
sure. And doing it together,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like the togetherness of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right, thinking of like Jesus's mother, I'm like, my son, like I'm not letting him be buried without honor and dignity, you know, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter how this ends up, like
Mhm.
that's my son at the end of
Yeah.
the day. And
Mhm.
yeah, I would want to care for my son even do
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very relatable.
Yeah.
Oh man, crazy.
Mhm.
Thinking about how Jesus like really knew and to anticipate how people were going to be
Mhm.
handling with grief. How do you see that kind of playing out in the story? You know, Jesus knows he's coming back in 3 days and all of that, and he alluded to it to his disciples. But I don't know. I think that's an interesting part of Scripture. If you notice, like even in his resurrection, he uniquely
Mhm.
like reveals himself to people
Yeah.
in a way that I like to think is like this is what that person needs.
Yeah.
This is what that
Yeah.
person needs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to come, to the ladies
Yeah.
first because
Mhm.
they need to see that. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever thought about that?
Mm.
Like the different ways that Jesus sort of presents himself and what that looks like?
Well, I
Yeah,
love
what do you
that he came to the ladies first.
Yeah.
And, in that culture, they didn't have a voice. No one would have believed them.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to bring back the word that, hey, he has risen,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
that's so powerful. That's what they were waiting for. But did they believe? No, they didn't.
Mhm. Yep.
So the fact that Jesus said, I'm going to be showing myself, revealing myself to the ladies first,
Yeah.
that's him loving so well.
Yeah.
Even in that, he was restoring their dignity,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like if that was
Absolutely.
a question, he's restoring their dignity.
Mhm.
You get to be the
Absolutely.
one
Yeah.
who saw it 1st.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so true.
Now go share.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
You get to start this whole thing.
Do you think it was like, I was like, because scripture only tells us,
Yeah.
a certain amount, but I always
Mhm.
like to be like, okay, like how long did the ladies get to be with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
how long? Was
Yeah.
it just like, hi, good to see you, I'm
Yeah.
back, go tell everyone?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
I think he was gentle and kind.
Mhm.
And how we know him, like he's slow and he's
Mhm.
intentional.
How
And
he
there's-
even revealed himself
Yeah.
was just, it wasn't like, ta-da, I'm
No.
Right.
here.
Yeah.
It was gentle. It was a revealing. I
Mhm.
think there's one account where he reveals himself with his voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, that's my Lord.
Mhm.
I know his voice.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Didn't they think he was a gardener or something?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That makes me think of, I love how
Oh, there's so
scripture
much
is like
relevance.
one
Mhm.
whole story that's kind of woven together,
Yeah.
And I love, I look forward to being in heaven someday and like seeing the whole picture and seeing what it really looks like.
Mhm.
But I think we see that even through scripture, like you said, of like his voice. And then there's, the God who
Mhm.
sees, the God who hears. Like these are
Mhm.
stories that they've been told their whole
Yeah.
lives, that they're memorizing scripture. And these women are part of their ministry is memorizing the scripture. God who sees me, the God who hears me, the God who speaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even in his revealing, like modeling that and how that
Yeah.
just weaves all these stories
Mhm.
together of like,
Mhm.
oh, now it's real for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a story I once
Mhm.
heard. And it makes me think about, Tara, I think you said this to me one time and it was very wise, but how we really can relate to what they must have felt like because
Mhm.
we are in the same
Mhm.
position now. Like
Mhm.
they were in a position where they were believing that Jesus was the Messiah and they were waiting to see how that was going to play out.
Mhm.
And so are we.
Yep.
Because we're waiting for him to come back.
Yeah.
And so we can really say like we know what it is to believe something, but also be waiting
Yeah.
to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
And I think about that, how that will just feel like a sort of, I've heard the stories, I've had glimpses, I've had moments with you,
Mhm.
but like now it's real for me. I don't know. That's very future thinking, but have you
Yeah.
guys ever put yourself in that position or thought about that
Mhm.
before?
Yeah, I think of it, and this was, I would say, my first year thinking of the Holy Saturday, that in between, the
Mhm.
meanwhile,
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
like, even we are in the meanwhile
Yeah.
Yeah.
before we see Jesus face to face. And the meanwhile, I feel like there's a lot of pain and going back to grief.
Yeah.
There's grieving looks so different. It's not
Yeah.
just like experiencing a
Mhm.
physical death, family member,
Mhm.
friend.
Mhm.
It's loss of job. It's loss of relationships.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
loss of a dream.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so just taking that in the meanwhile is just like, that's what the hope that we have in Jesus, that's what keeps us
Mhm.
going.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
the reward. Jesus is
Mhm.
the reward. Like
Mhm.
when Paul says, run your race,
Mhm.
and we're racing, this race we're running here on earth is not easy. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jesus said it wasn't going to
Yep.
be easy.
No.
His life wasn't easy.
Mhm.
But this meanwhile, that tension,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
knowing that like that we do have the hope that we will see him face to face at
Mhm.
some point.
Mhm.
Yeah. It just, that, like, the meanwhile is just even thinking about the ladies at the cross and then on that, like, going away together, I can imagine, and just that dark night of the soul,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
you know? And I just wonder, like, have you guys, like, ever experienced that yourselves, and what helped you move through that?
Mhm.
That's a good question too.
Yeah.
That is a good
Anyone?
question. I mean, I think with grief, we're always looking to just get to the other side of it and be done with it.
Yeah. Like you were saying, Migs.
And some
Yeah.
people deal with it differently. Like,
Mhm.
I think in the story, in this account, it shows like the men maybe go back to work
Yeah.
Mhm.
and they start fishing again. And people scattered, they went back to their day-to-day life. But I think everybody kind of deals with that differently. But the point is we really have to go through it,
Yeah.
and we can't just jump over it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I don't know. Those are just kind of my thoughts on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really have to go through it.
There's
The suffering, the pain.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
really good book called Sacred Fire.
Mm.
They talk about the dark night of the soul.
Mhm.
And there was a season in my life, probably 3 years ago, where I was reading through that book, and it was like it gave language to what I was experiencing, but I probably couldn't have named it at the time.
Mm.
But it is just that, Tara, exactly what you said, where it's like everyone will experience it. And some people experience it early in life
Yeah.
and some later, depending on circumstances. But what is different is like those who choose to just, okay, this is my wall. And so now I learn how to function on this side of the wall.
Right.
And those who hit the wall and say, okay, I'm busting through this thing. You know, I'm going to figure out how to get through. And that was really eye-opening for me, I think, because it is that question. I don't know that I have a good answer for what you said, but like, how do you go through? And I think I can just speak to currently.
Yeah.
And currently, I feel like what the Lord is teaching me is just like steadfastness and being faithful where I'm planted and knowing that God is still working and the story's still being written. But also just like kind of taking time to slow down and ground myself in truths. And so like finding those moments or those scriptures that are resonating with me and then just reminding myself over and over and over again, or listening to a song over and over and over again, and kind of putting myself in a place where it's like, yeah, I know I'm in the meanwhile, or I know I'm in the desert, or whatever your analogy is for it, but that I'm trusting that there's work being done in it. You know, that I'm not stagnant and I'm not, like, hope is not lost because this is a tough season, but I know that the Lord is using it and working in it. And if I'm just steadfast to meet with Him, I will look back and see the work that was done.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That is so
I was
good.
thinking that as you were talking, just the, you know, everyone will go through suffering at some point, and some people harder, you know, walk through harder things. We don't know the answer why, but you know, there's this book. If you haven't read it yet, listeners, go get it. It's called, or listen to the podcast, but it's called Your Body Keeps the Score. And it's, I mean, it is a book. It will transform the way you think about just life in general. But one thing that has been helpful for me, it's, I mean, our bodies are soul, mind, spirit.
Yes.
And so one thing that's been helping me as I, you know, walk through grief or the desert, or, you know, through suffering at times, is just literally walking it out.
Yeah.
And so, and that was one of my things that my therapist told me. She was like, Michelle, just walk it out. Walk. I love walking. I love nature. And so, and literally like shedding it out.
Yes.
And there's times that I'm screaming. There's times, you know, that I'm crying. There's times that I'm silent. There's times I'll invite a friend, you know, whatever. But just for me, that's that's what's been helpful. And I
Mhm.
was like thinking of, okay, what would that Saturday have been if we were
Yeah.
just say
Yeah.
us three were there
Mhm,
in
mhm.
this space,
Yeah.
waiting, like just experiencing what we experienced. Probably were made to leave from the
Mhm.
feet of the cross because they took
Mhm.
Jesus's body. Now what? And I'd be like, ladies, I got to go for a walk,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
just because I know that
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's helpful for me. And I just
Mhm.
love, again,
Mhm.
the beautiful, gentle kindness that God truly knows us.
Yes.
He created us and wired each of us so
Mhm.
differently.
Mhm.
And he makes space for however
Mhm.
we need to be
Yeah.
walked with
Yeah.
or sat with.
Mhm.
And it's all okay.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, instead of like,
Yeah.
I'm not grieving this way, or I should be over it by now, or,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's just like shame. And Jesus is
Yeah.
like,
Nope.
nope,
Mhm.
welcome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think the beautiful thing about that is you have to get to a place where you can be completely honest
Yeah.
with yourself, with
Mhm.
other people, to know yourself and to know how you're really feeling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or when someone says, "How are you doing?" Well, you don't really want to know the whole.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
walked with Jesus for 3 years.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, who would go
Yeah.
into that?
Mhm.
But to really get to the honest
Mhm.
portions of yourself, maybe that like 2% that you just don't tell anybody,
Yeah.
like even being able to say, am I doubting this? Like,
Yeah.
he said
Yeah.
these things, but this doesn't look like what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
the real honesty of it is you have to walk through the tough, dark times
Yeah.
in complete honesty with how you're feeling about it
Oh, that's so good.
and assessing
Yeah.
and bringing it to the Lord. Like,
Yeah.
God, you know me, you created me,
Mhm.
you're going to meet me in this exact place.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
I was it reminds me of a counseling session I had where we were talking about this and how my counselor was explaining it like, okay, we're getting down to like a deep wound that you have. And if we kind of talk about it or whatever, and you share a little bit, then we're like putting some soap and water on the wound, and that's great.
Mhm.
But really, if you want to cure
Mhm.
the root of the injury, we have to like scrub out the gunk. And we
Yeah.
gotta like really, and it's
Yeah.
gonna hurt,
Yep.
and it's gonna be graphic, and it's gonna
Mhm.
be, but
It's not pretty.
it's not pretty.
Mm-mm.
But you, and essentially calling me to honesty of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you gotta get really real
Mhm.
and really raw,
Mhm.
and we're gonna clean that thing out because then it can truly fully heal.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think that I don't know, it makes me think actually of the challenge from this Sunday in the sermon, which is, where are the dead places that we keep going back to?
Mm.
And what are the things that we're not willing to bury and leave in the grave,
Mhm.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, that's a deep question.
That is.
But if you're willing to
Yeah.
share.
I think there's several of them that the Lord's really like in me, just like, okay, Shell, are you ready to leave that behind?
Yeah.
Because I need to move you forward. But if you
Yeah.
need more time,
Mhm.
but I really need you to move
Yeah.
forward.
Mhm.
Again, God's kindness. I would say there's one thing that, as we've been talking, that God revealed to me as we were just communicating,
Yeah.
that I one thing it's hard for me to let go is my job that I resigned from.
Mhm.
And I knew he was moving, the grace covering was moving
Mhm.
me out.
Yeah.
And it was just time.
Yeah.
But it was a job that I absolutely loved.
Mm.
And I still to this day, it's like part of, like, it was almost like, okay, it's part of my identity.
Yeah.
And so I've had to, over these months, I've had to really just like detach from it.
Mhm.
And so like, let it rest.
Yeah.
Let it rest. I
Yeah.
have something I'm moving you into
Moving
something
you
new.
into. Yeah.
And so, yeah, but that's hard because I'll go back to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I found, like I said, my identity, I found security, I found safety, I found joy in
Mhm.
life, and
Yeah.
and pride.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I believe the Lord's like, yep, I see that. Yep. We need to get those uprooted out of you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So it
good.
is like
Yeah.
learning, okay, bless it, thank
Yeah.
God for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But now just being trusting Him that
Yeah.
something's ahead.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
That's hard.
people have something like that as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say for me, I know it's kind of the hot topic right now, but it just happens to apply. Menopause.
Woo!
Yeah.
It's just such a real
Oh, that's real.
thing. It's so real, and it's a sneaky thing.
Hmm.
And, for years, you're just kind of cruising in the direction. You feel like you know who you are,
Yeah.
even what you look like, how you respond to things. And then menopause comes along, and it's not just an overnight thing. It's a season, shall we say.
Guys, don't tune out on this either. Lean in on this,
Yeah.
men.
You can grow.
Yeah.
But that has
Good.
been such an adjustment to, honestly, to look in the mirror and say, I don't recognize myself
Yeah.
anymore. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Not trying to go backwards to a box or a size that I used to fit in, but to move forward and let the Lord
Mm.
grow me in different ways and strengthen me in different ways. And there are subtle changes, and then, just letting Him guide and lead. It requires a lot of grace that I never expected. His word says His grace is sufficient. So leaning into that all the time when I don't feel like I feel like there are parts of me that I don't know anymore
Yeah.
because I have changed so much. But He is so faithful and so kind and so gentle. He doesn't leave. He's still here and leading and guiding. And like you said, He's going to use it for good. And those changes are molding and shaping me into the person that He wants me to be. And in order for that to happen, I got to put this other stuff
Yeah.
to death. That's got to go. But that whole fountain of youth,
Yeah.
that
yeah.
David mentioned in the
Yeah.
sermon, I was like, oh, that hits a little closer to home than I thought it would. But that's a real thing. And I know I'm not the only woman who feels this way or has gone through this, because menopause is going to happen to every woman.
Yeah.
So, if we're blessed to live long enough for it to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Thank
it's
you
just
so much for
yeah.
saying that. I think that so needs to be said. And because we are offered constantly, the solution to it is just
right.
look like you're not ever going to go through menopause by
Right.
doing whatever you can to look that way
Right.
forever,
Right.
or just try to avoid it or get around it, or
Mhm.
and honestly, thank you. That blessed me just now,
Aw.
because I think I have struggled with that even in my own season, like postpartum, and I had twins,
Yeah.
and man, that is it's been so shaping of okay. And once you stretch it that far, it's not going back,
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a humbling piece to
Absolutely.
getting older
Mhm.
and to having kids or not having kids, whatever it is, life in general wears on your body.
Yes,
And
it does.
I know that that men experience it too as they age. And so thank you for being really honest about that, because I think that needs to be said, and that there is a leaning in
Yeah.
and a letting it
Yeah.
grow you.
Mhm.
And we just do not value age and wisdom in our culture
Mhm.
near as much as we should,
Mhm.
because there's such a gift to growing older and having wisdom and discernment.
Yeah.
And man, we should honor more people who are later in life, because they have so much to offer.
Yeah.
I agree.
I feel like that's like the fountain of wisdom.
Yeah.
I always say, you guys know this, but like my grandma group,
Yeah.
the group of ladies and they're gone before me. And so I always encourage women and men, but get around people who have wisdom and who's lived some life, because they have been there.
Yeah.
And so just teach me all the way, or is this normal? Or how'd you walk through this? What was it like when all your kids left the nest specifically, all those things. And so I think that also helps us not feel crazy.
Yep.
And also, we're not going to social media for
Mhm.
Mhm.
what it's supposed to look
Mhm.
like, or, with all the shame stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
true.
What was yours, Megs? Your
Death.
death.
Oh,
Putting to
Thank
death.
you,
Mhm.
Tara.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, man. Well, I think a lot of mine, I can relate to the, like, identity piece in both of yours, because I think they're kinda connected, but I don't know, it's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I think I still struggle with, like, approval. I think I really
Mm.
that's sort of the thing that I come back to time and time again is,
Mhm.
um, I find myself in places of just being like, "Okay," and almost in a weird way, like, if it's at work or if it's at home, like, selecting, subconsciously, like, I need a certain response or I need a
Mm.
certain, to feel worthy or to feel
Sure.
like that I did enough or,
Mhm.
and so it
Yeah.
turns into more of a performance thing. I think that's like the surface thing, but the root, I think, of all of it is, um, just caring a lot about what people think of me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is something I would love to put to death because it keeps you trapped.
Mhm.
It kinda keeps you trapped in a cage of, like, um, I don't know, not living freely into who God created me to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
because I'm constantly thinking about what lens other people are filtering my actions through or what I
Mhm.
say.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've definitely grown a lot in it over the years, but I feel like it's one of those where different seasons bring me into greater depths of healing
Mhm.
from that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's where I am right now, like another level of, okay, you let go of the stuff up here, but now we're like, you still got it down
Yeah.
here. Let's let go of that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think just like when we come to a place where our hands are open,
Yeah.
and I think this does come with like life experience and age. That's what I'm finding it, maturity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and the sanctification process until we
Yeah.
see Jesus face to face, right? So we're going to always be learning and changing and becoming more like Christ. That's the goal. Um, but the freedom when we're vulnerable, so we say, vulnerability breeds vulnerability.
Mhm.
You don't have to bring, everybody in your business,
Yeah.
but have
Right.
your like few
Yeah.
close people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Honesty.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The honesty piece.
Mhm.
Yeah. And even being able to, I know like being able to be like, okay, this is what's happening, what have you walked through this?
Yeah.
Can you help me? Just being,
Mhm.
it happens like humility on both sides.
Yeah.
And I think because of our culture and where it's at, we can't control any of it, but we are, God for such a time as this has placed us in this culture. So,
Yeah.
and we're, as Jesus did, we're going against the culture norm.
Mhm.
And so made me think, Megs, when you were talking about the approval piece.
Yeah.
And just,
Yeah.
like I was thinking like back when we were growing up, even seeing, our parents' ages and as, watching them, there was no social media there. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to
Yeah.
know what's going on in the world, you have to
Right.
watch the news or
Yeah.
open the newspaper.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's definitely aging us. But I miss that, like the simplicity because you
Yeah.
just don't know. I
You
mean,
just
you're
don't
not
know.
comparing
Yeah.
nobody unless you go to the
No.
grocery store, your neighbor,
Yeah.
or your
Right.
Yeah.
friends,
Right.
and
The
so
circle's
like
smaller.
much
Mhm.
smaller.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what does it look like for us? Because even like the physical pieces,
Yeah.
like as we
Mhm.
get older and finding our identity, what
Yeah.
does it look
Mhm.
like really truly finding our identity, our security,
Yeah.
our like just really trusting the Lord of just like when he's like, I know you,
Yeah.
Elroy, the God who
Mhm.
sees.
Yeah.
I see you,
Yeah.
I've seen,
Yeah.
what does that look like in our
Mhm.
lives? And how do we pursue that?
Yeah.
Just curious, like, what does that look like in your ladies' lives right now? What does that look like to, like, go against culture and really
Mhm.
follow
Yeah.
the Lord and
Mhm.
listen and tune in, like you were saying,
Mhm.
with knowing His voice?
Yeah. I think that's exactly it. Just, David mentioned a few weeks ago about beholding.
Oh, yeah.
And I absolutely love that word
Yeah.
because it pushes everything else out.
Yeah.
And, when we think about like the weight of God's glory, it pushes everything else out.
Mm.
So for me, I mean, I want that. I want
Yeah.
that. So it's just,
Yeah.
meditating on scripture and closing my eyes and picturing Jesus and
Mm.
trying to imagine in my mind what his glory would be like. And Jesus is the picture of his glory. So we get to experience that. We get to live that out. We get to focus on it
Mm.
and think about it all the time. And hopefully, I mean, that will push everything else out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my hope anyway.
Yeah, no, for
that's
sure.
good. Yeah, I think to your point, when you have safe relationships that you know are
Mhm.
safe
Yeah.
and it's in a close circle, but I think I'm learning that a lot even in marriage right now.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like a challenge almost. Like God tells us marriage is a representation of his covenant,
Mhm.
and so
Mhm.
believing that and leaning into it.
Mm.
And I feel like in the last couple of years, even in our marriage, like we've been we've been married for 11 years and better about just being like, I'm going to show you the ugly, ugly, ugly of what I'm thinking right now or feeling right now. And I think watching how when you are in a good covenant, like that's okay. And it's safe to do that. And there's redemption there. And I think that has taught me a lot about I'm very, very relationally wired. And I'm also very experientially wired.
Yeah.
And so I think like the practice of even doing that, of even thinking, I mean, I would have told you 5 years ago, like, oh yeah, I'm so comfortable being vulnerable with Tim and all the things. And then something harder happens and I'm like, ooh, I have a really ugly thought right now. And and you do
Yeah.
it but I just think that the more life goes on and the more you do life in community with people and the more you enter into that, okay, I'm going to be real and I'm going to be vulnerable. And then, oh, wow, they took that and they not only didn't judge me, but they in fact loved me through that. And that has taught me so much about Christ's love for me. And I think I know that that's not everybody's story and not everybody's marriage is that place.
Yeah.
And so one, I feel really grateful that that's like a place that I can learn that lesson. But I do think one thing I think we talked about before is like there's a grieving in even relationships where it's like, I wanted this relationship to look this way.
Yeah.
And, recognizing in some seasons of life, okay, I thought because that person carries that title, I should have this relationship with them and it should be my safe place.
Right.
And maybe it's not.
Yeah.
But I have found that if you look around, the Lord does provide those relationships for those who seek them, And so if it's not in your marriage, like sit and think, or if it's, if you're not married or if you're struggling with maybe you want that relationship with a parent and you don't have it or with a sibling and you don't have it, but who has the Lord put in your life?
Yeah.
And what would it look like for you to take a step towards maybe this is the place where I can kind of take a little bit of a risk and let myself be a little more known and see what the Lord would do in that.
That's so good. And to talk about like shifting to like the importance of, we've kind of talked about this a little bit throughout our whole time together, but just the importance of being known.
Yeah.
I think everyone, I believe the Lord has created and placed that in us because he's the one who knows us better than we know ourselves. But to be known is to be seen, it's to be heard, it's to be loved, even in our ugliest.
Yeah.
And so having that, like you were saying, like inviting people into that, again, don't be inviting all the people into it. Because that ain't
Choose
safe.
wisely.
Yeah. Pray through it, just like you said, and the Lord will bring the people. But Tara, you were sharing with us like a conversation that you were having over coffee about being known.
Yeah.
Will you share that?
Yeah. I spent some time with a friend and we were having coffee And at the end of it, I just asked her, I said, hey, what do you need?
Mm.
And she said, to be known.
Yeah.
And I
Dang.
thought, wow. Yeah, I mean,
Same.
it just blew me away. I
Yeah.
left the conversation and I just thought, first of all, she has to know herself really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to be able to say, I need to be known.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up texting her a few days after and said, can I be that person?
Oh,
Can I
yeah.
like be that person for you? And what can I do? And let's plan another time to get together. Because yeah, it is, I think it's a special thing that we can do for one another is to
Yeah.
truly know, love, care for one another, see one another, be intentional with our time, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
so good. And can we just pause for what a question.
Yeah, what a
What
question.
a good
Yeah.
question. What do you need?
Mm-hmm.
That is so good to ask people, number one,
Yeah.
because what an invitation that is. Like,
Mhm.
that could be anything.
Mhm.
You know, do you need a hug?
Yeah.
Or do you need to like pour it out, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
But also like challenging because
Yeah.
how would I
Yeah.
answer that?
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought about that.
There's a
Like,
challenge.
if somebody asked me, what do I need?
Yeah.
I probably, I mean,
Tara, what do you need?
I know, like that would be
What
my
do you-
answer to
yeah.
be known,
Yeah.
To be known.
but
Yep.
it would take me a while to get to that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's a really honest answer. And I don't know that I would have come to that conclusion so quickly.
Hmm.
You know?
You're right. It takes
Yeah.
a knowing of yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
And
yeah.
that person's been with Jesus,
Mhm.
Yes.
you know, because they
Yeah.
have
Yes.
sat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely
That's so
true.
good.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, staying on that,
I feel a challenge question.
It is
coming
a challenge question.
Michelle,
Who would've thought? Oh, that's funny. My old boss would always say, I'm a gentle challenger.
Oh yeah. That's good.
So with that said, so you answered your question like you want to be known, but on a lighter, like on a lighter side,
Mm-hmm.
what do you need?
Yeah.
Like even for yourself,
Yeah.
what do you need?
Creativity.
Creativity. What does
Mhm.
that look like for you?
That looks like could be anything. Could be.
Are you working on anything
I
specific?
am working on
Oh, what are
something
you working on?
specific.
Tell us.
Well, I had gotten a gift a few years ago from Moses, and it is like a big pile of puffy, not yet yarn. And so I pulled it all apart yesterday, and I started spinning it. And it's textile, it's touch, it's the sound of the spinning wheel, and it's taking something and turning it into something else. And kind of letting that happen naturally, but there is some manipulation to it, but not much.
Yeah.
It's just kind of letting it happen. So for me, that's kind of like my happy place
Yeah.
because my hands are doing something and my mind is free.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's where my heart kind of comes to life and
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
gives
that's
me
awesome.
little
That's really cool. Yeah.
nuggets of things
Yeah.
that, either the Lord wants to show me,
Yeah.
or maybe it's something that I'm holding back or a grievance that I have.
Yeah.
And so like all kinds of stuff happens at the spinning wheel.
When you're creative, do you is it quiet in your space or do
Mhm.
you put music on?
Yeah.
Both.
Both. Okay, when you have music on, what
Mhm.
kind of music will you put?
I listen to a lot of this is part of being known. I listen to some lo-fi music that Moses made for me.
Nice.
Oh, that's so
Okay,
sweet.
Moses is your teenage son.
Yes.
For those who don't know.
Yes.
Oh, that's
And he
Oh, Mo.
sometimes makes me, playlists. And a
That's
lot of them
awesome.
are like lo-fi jazz or something like
That's so
that.
awesome.
Or, I really enjoy some nature sounds like birds
Yeah.
Yeah.
or something like that too.
That's awesome.
So that is definitely if you want to know me, that's definitely my heart.
Okay, I once
That's
heard
so cool.
someone say that having a son, which we all have sons,
Yes,
Mhm.
we do.
is like this is kind of sad, but it's like the world's longest breakup or
Oh, yeah.
something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And I'm like thinking
Oh,
about
no.
it. Like I was just thinking of
No.
like you went from mixtapes from
Oh,
to, like,
yes.
mixtapes from your son. I'm like,
Oh.
oh, the day my son can make me a mixtape.
I
That's
know.
so cute.
Uh-huh.
It's really
That's
awesome.
Oh, I love
Mhm.
that. That's so
Mhm.
good.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, your turn, Meg.
Okay, my turn. What do I need?
Yeah.
I think I need fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I have 4 little boys. I do a lot of managing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that's good, and it has its place and it's needed. But I think in the managing of schedules and the managing of remembering everyone's field trip and who needs lunch today and who doesn't, and
Oh, it's Spirit Day. It's Spirit
yeah,
Week.
yeah,
Yeah.
Spirit. Oh my gosh, and it's Crazy Hair Day for him, and Dr. Seuss Day for him, and oh my gosh,
Lord,
yeah,
have mercy on
those
you,
Spirit
teachers.
Weeks, yes. God bless teachers. Thank you for all you do.
Yes.
Yeah, I think like I get so busy managing that I forget to enjoy it.
Oh.
Okay, but
Yeah.
for
Delight in
you,
it.
what is fun?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if I could be like, Megan, today,
Yeah.
is it like a yes day? Have you ever, is that a movie?
Oh.
Yes
Yeah.
Day?
Oh,
Okay.
my kids love that movie,
Okay.
and they're asking for one, and I
Okay, what would
have
be
not
your
gotten
fun?
it.
Yes. Okay, give me
A yes
something.
day for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think when the weather starts to change and it
Yes.
starts to get, which I guess we kind of had spring all year if you live in Denver, but like this time of year kind of awakens something new in me where it's like adventure,
Yes.
And so we got a paddle board for Christmas, and so I'm excited to
Hit me
like
up.
get the kids out on the paddle board. Yeah, just things like that. Just things where I think it's a bit of spontaneity
Yeah.
for me right
Okay.
now. I think that's what brings joy and what is fun.
Are you
because,
naturally
I think
spontaneous?
in my past life,
Yeah.
yes, but in my momming 4 boys and working life, no.
Not
Because
so
there's
much.
when are
Yeah.
you going to be
You're managing.
spontaneous?
Yeah.
And so I feel like the managing side of it is like, okay, Mondays is baseball, Tuesdays is soccer. We got to make the dinner and do the meal prep and the groceries and there is so much life in all of that. But I think for me, it
For you
looks like being
specifically.
like, hey, tonight on Tuesday, let's go take the paddleboard to Chatfield and let's like pick up Lunchables on the way and let's eat Lunchables
Aw.
and paddleboard,
And Capri
just,
Suns.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and Capri
Yeah,
Sun.
Tim.
Yeah.
But just, doing something spontaneous and letting it be not planned or organized or thought through and
Mhm.
just like, yeah, let's do that. And I think part of it for me is my youngest 2 are twins. And they just turned 4. But in the past 4 years, so much of having twins is like, if we get off our schedule, everything falls apart. And so it's recognizing they're 4 and they can get off their schedule and it's okay. And then like reinviting the fun back in. So,
yeah.
maybe like I'll have to do a water balloon fight or something
Yeah.
tonight. Something just
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
What about you?
What do I need? I would say, I'm always good. I'm always up for fun. I'm always up for an adventure.
Yeah.
I should say
Yeah.
that. And I want to implement fun.
Yeah.
Because I think that is an art that we have lost.
Yeah.
And honestly, can I be real? Like in the Christian culture, like
Yeah.
just chill out.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I'm talking to myself, because I need to have more fun. But literally, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just need to throw that in there.
We should
Let's
be the
have
most
more
fun people, right?
More
We
fun.
should-
Yeah.
The most
Yeah.
celebratory. We
I
have
mean-
the most to celebrate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be another podcast, but we'll be back.
Yeah.
Yes. Like and share so we can be back.
Yes.
I would say for me, one, I thrive in adventure. I love change. Sometimes it could be my fault.
Yeah.
To the detriment. But one thing that I cannot wait for is to go to Elitch's, which is Six Flags here, because I love roller coasters and I don't care if I go by myself. Freddie doesn't like them. Ryder, he doesn't like them. Scout said, I'll come with you. And so I'm holding him to that before he graduates.
Nice.
But
Oh,
I literally don't care if I'll go by myself. I
Mhm.
almost got a season pass for bought it for my birthday because
Okay, I'll come with you. That'll be my bus.
Oh,
My spontaneous
do you
like
fun.
roller
Do you
coasters?
roller coasters?
I do not.
I used to. I don't
I
know. My
used
center of
to.
gravity is different.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see.
yeah, true. Hopefully, yeah. I just love this is off the subject, but I was thinking of Tower of Terror, where it
Yeah.
the drops.
yeah.
I love that feeling. Airplanes, love it when
Ooh.
everyone's freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
That's your
I don't know.
fight, though. You're like, yeah.
I love it. I don't know.
That's awesome.
So
So we'll find you on the roller coaster.
yes,
Yep.
do
I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, and so I think but I want my fun or whatever that looks like, my adventure to really happen. Like, I don't want it just to be like, oh, I feel it. And it's like, yeah, I know I need it. It's like, how am I going to implement in this into my life, into my everyday life?
Yeah.
Like a water balloon fight. One thing I do with, I love to scare people, specifically in my house. And it's just so funny. So
You're one of those. I hate those.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I did not know that about you.
No, me
I love
neither. Challenge.
Oh yeah, I love it. It's so funny. And the boys specifically would just be like, I either scare them or I don't. They're just like, I heard your bracelets. You know,
They know you're coming.
yeah, so they do. Yeah,
Oh,
but a
that's
funny
awesome.
story. I know I'm just, but it's like
This is good.
rabbit trail.
We need practical tips.
Okay.
How do we do this?
Yes.
Well, this is not, don't do this. But my mother-in-law, we were at the movie theater. I was talking about scaring. My mother-in-law likes to scare. And so I don't even think we had kids at the time. So it's like newer. Okay. So she had already gone. The movie was over, down the stairs and around the corner. Well, I was walking down the stairs and she scared me. She was like, boo. And I'm like, bam.
Did you
and I
hit
slapped her across the face.
Oh my God.
So sorry. I'm so sorry, Jeanette. I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
But
and she's like the sweetest woman ever.
Yeah, I
no.
smacked her so hard.
Oh,
because she.
Like you're a fighter.
But
you
that's
know?
the thing. When I get scared, I'll just. Yeah, I won't go. I have
no.
other stories about being scared, but we'll leave it at that.
So you like to do the scaring, but being scared. But don't scare Michelle.
Okay.
That's the best. That's
Let
the best.
her scare you.
Exactly. Yes.
It's just more fun. So, anyways,
Yes.
I
Oh,
don't know how we got
That's
there.
great.
Just the fun.
no.
The
That's
fun
so
part.
good. Sometimes you just need those practical tips.
Oh, that's funny.
No, this was really fun, ladies. Thank you so much
Oh my
for coming
gosh.
on
It was
and
fun.
just giving like a unique perspective and a unique conversation for us to have. This is really, really great. So I hope you do come back. And I hope you like, subscribe, do all the things because, we would love to do this more often. And thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell your friends and family. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to Centered. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. You can listen to Centered on your favorite podcast platform or watch on YouTube. To learn more about Mosaic or connect further, visit us online at welcometomosaic.com. See you next week.